The first topic that we'll be dealing with is water for building world peace. It is in GS2 and GS1 and GS2 you can utilize it. Number 2, global water situation and how the countries are dealing with. Third topic would be inequality, more dimensions about it. It can be related to society and the economic sections of your GSE1. Then Baloch militants carrying out attacks on Gwadar port. Gwadar port, as you know, is in Pakistan and is built by China to circumvent the issue related to Malacca Strait, etc. And then after comes what if the United States moves out of NATO, that is related to GS2. Now we would be starting first of all water an instrument to build world peace. As you know, today is the World Water Day. So I would like to first of all tell you some statistics about water. Only 2.5% of Earth's water is classified as fresh. In India also, Niti Aayog report has already talked about water crisis being a big issue. India accommodates close to around 17% of global population but possesses only 4% of the planet's freshwater resources. World Water Day, that is commemorated every 22nd of March, it serves to underscore the criticality of fresh water. So fresh water that is there, the World Water Day that is being celebrated on 20 or commemorated on 22nd of March, it underscores the criticality of fresh water. The theme of this year's World Water Day is water for peace. Water for peace, मतलब water peace के लिए. So the scarcity of fresh water often sparks conflict among individuals, communities, and even nations. Only 24 out of 153 countries have established water sharing agreements according to United Nations. What does it mean by water sharing agreement? You see, rivers actually often crisscross across geographies. So when they crisscross across geographies, then who would control the water will be necessary through who will be controlling the water will be necessary to be implemented, and it can be only done through water sharing agreements. So water sharing agreement, they say, United Nations says that close to only 24 out of 153 countries have established freshwater or water sharing agreements. World Water Day. So in 1992, during the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, UNCED, that was held in Rio de Janeiro. You may know that Rio de Janeiro's conference regarding regarding the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, it was held in Rio de Janeiro, and the proposal came there to designate an annual day for water conservation. It was part of the United Nations Agenda of Climate Agenda 21. So you can write about, whenever actually it is asked, you can also write about the dimension of water day in a particular either essay topic or building your content answers. What is the significance of World Water Day? So first of all, it creates awareness about key issues related to water use. The day is used to inspire people, elected officials, others in governance, and lawmakers to take a proactive stand regarding the crisis of water and sanitation across the globe. Now we would be saying that why water is an instrument to build world peace. As you know, World Water Day, which is being celebrated today, is being celebrated because, as I told you, to create awareness. Now what happens when there are problems across the country, and each country actually always remain in conflict with another country for fresh water build up. So when we talk about the water related issues, then it can be a big issue. How it can, first of all, it can affect communities. Communities also always fight among themselves if there is a scarcity of water. A scarcity of water also brings down the migration related issues. So when people actually migrate from one place to another or one region to another, then the people who are already living there, the resources burden on them again start rising. So whatever the limited resources that the people in host countries have, the guests actually who come as a migrants, they start building pressure on those resources. So ultimately it creates one of the difficult situation or conflict situation. Another problem is in a particular region when there are water scarcities, then different sectors of economy, be it agriculture or industry or other sectors, they start feeling the pressure. and it is the agriculture actually which is most employment driven sector that gets more pinched, because agriculture is one actually which need water for irrigation purposes. So if water is not available, then the income level of people will definitely go down. The moment income level of the people go down, then it creates its own set of challenges, and people, because of not part of the economic activities, they start threatening the internal security of a particular territory by either going for some stealing or doing some organized crimes, etc. So water can then cause problems. Water is also a burden on gender. As we know, the women folks of the society, their main work is to do the household chorus. And in the household chorus, most of the time in water stressed region goes for them to not only walk longer miles but also go there and be in the queue and secure water for their daily needs. If there is some issue in the water or water availability in nearby areas, then they do not even actually have not only have to walk extra miles but also put extra effort to secure water for the family's purpose. So it can create another challenge even on the basis of on the basis of gender. We also know that water is world peace. Why? Because only 24 out of 153 countries have the water sharing agreements. So in case actually the countries do not have water sharing agreements, then first of all, how the river water is used, what is the river water condition when in the time of crisis like flood, etc., the data is not shared continuously or regularly among countries. If the data is not shared regularly among countries, then if there is any flood situation, then the another country where the downstream of the river actually comes, then it can create a challenges regarding not only the flood but also related to livelihood. So even actually this is also a medium to affect the world peace. We have also known that the water table or dark regions are in the water table is going down, and the dark regions across the country are now going down. Why? Because it is water tables are going down, and the scarcity is going up, and that is also affecting the people who are living at the bottommost state of the society. Those are poor. The study of the water bodies are also not good, not only for the aquatic life but also for the city or urban ecosystem. As you know, urban ecosystem where the land building is happening, this particular is happening at the cost of all those people, all those semi water resources or other lagoons or water bodies. So that has its own set of challenges. Not only it creates the temperature profile, irreversible temperature profile, but it gives birth to the climate change. Climate change also has its own set of challenges. Principal among them is the rise in the sea level. So those countries or communities living on the island systems or nearby the large ocean systems, they also get affected, and either their livelihood is affected or they also get migrated to other countries, again actually bringing a trouble for the world peace. So this is how the water is an instrument to affect the world peace. If we talk about India, in almost every state and the main cities of India, there is a groundwater depletion. When we talk about Punjab, Rajasthan, Delhi, Haryana, the ratio of the groundwater consumption availability is 172, 137, 137%, etc., which is a cause for alarm. In Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, and Maharashtra, the groundwater depletion condition is like this, where the ratio of groundwater consumption to availability is 77, 74, or 57%. So because of this, the perennial rivers or the rivers actually which have intermittent flows, they are affected mostly. So that is also one of the status report in our country. So how on World Water Day we should understand that what is the trouble behind world peace issue because of the water crisis. Now second topic we would be talking about navigating the global water escape and its challenges. So in the context of climate change related pressures, one pressure we are having is climate change. So the world also need to foster improved cooperation on river water sharing or water sharing. The global challenge for securing access to clean water persists for about 2 billion people, and its demands keep rising. So clean water crisis across the globe is close for the 2 billion people. Out of 7 or 7.5 billion people who are the world population, at least one fourth among them face the water major crisis. It not only threatens our basic individual human needs, but also scarcity risks a problem to our collective prosperity and peace. As I told you, throughout history, water has played a pivotal role for some of the greatest civilizations. As we know, near to the water, prominent civilizations like Indus, Nilgiris, Tigris, etc., have blossomed. But it is also true that in these civilizations, conflicts also arose on account of this resource, that means water, like the well documented tensions between Mesopotamian city of Lagash and Umma. So, clashes among civilizations were also seen. So, water actually created its own set of clashes that time. This conflict, one of the oldest known, between cities of Lagash and Umma in Mesopotamia, centered around a fertile piece of land and water resources. So the Treaty of Massillon, recognized as the one of the humanity's oldest legal document, which was done to consider world's first peace treaty, and it was a historic episode that yielded the water some sort of water sharing agreements. What is water diplomacy? Now another topic comes about the water diplomacy in the context of troubles. World is experiencing not only countless days of meteorological extremities, from intense heat waves to turbulent floods, it also magnifies concerns about the climate crisis as well as its continuing implications over water insecurity. Just like in our country, there is a problem with monsoon. Monsoon not only has become more erratic in the sense that it comes earlier sometime, it goes early sometime, otherwise there is some drought, or even the onset is delayed, and what happens, the withdrawal of the monsoon gets even further delayed, affecting the not only seasons, etc. We must on this channel we talked about how the spring season in our country has almost disappeared. We also talked about actually the problems regarding global jet stream navigation and how it is affecting the temperatures in winter months, and how the winters also have started delaying in the onset time. So within this particular climate change related pressure, the world needs to foster improved cooperation on global water sharing agreements and embrace universal principle for international water law. By governing the use of shared waters and encouraging the use of water sustainability, we can always strive for better water diplomacy, making water a force for peace. So this is what the water, climate and international stability situation is. Water diplomacy also requires inclusive approaches, acknowledging the indigenous and local communities, extensive cross-border networks, as well as involving civil society and academic networks. We also know that in water conservation, the indigenous societies have their own traditional methods. But because as the time started passing by, these traditional methods started also disappearing. Why? Either one, because of the land grab, or the development actually that is taking place at the cost of these water bodies. Also the people's awareness about the water, it also started reducing. Number two, the governments or water fares across the country, or water rents actually, for which we charge for water, are very lesser. So when the water is charged very lesser, or not according to the amount of expenses that go into securing water, if the water is just like flown without charging much, then people also do not understand the value of it. You must have also seen that how a bottle of drinking water actually that is purchased at a cost of some rupees is efficiently used, while the same 1 liter of water in a tap water is used very recklessly. So this is the difference when we charge water according to the rates that it deserves. It cannot be more because of the poor population or the welfare policies of the government, but it cannot also be kept at a very low level where people even leave their taps behind, and there is no metering solution and the meter charges do not happen. So even the government's policies have also given birth to the water crisis. So this also plays a pivotal role in facilitating political process to not only prevent, mitigate, but also resolve water related issues. Addressing rural India's needs. Now comes the main point about India's rural needs. Within India, a total of 70% of rural population relies on water to run their households, and where the agriculture actually is a primary source of livelihood. This is even more striking because agriculture accounts for close to 70% of total global water use, and that also provides a lot of employment to people. With improved water accessibility, these differences can be erased, and increased water investments in rural areas will have the potential to return good outcomes in health, education, and employment, plus also human dignity and gender support. As I told you, gender wise, there is a discrimination because it is women folks who have to secure water security, and for them it can become one when either the tap water is made available to them or a regular supply of water is made available. In the agrarian sector, the efficient use of even emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, technology in the conservation of water, ranging from tackling crops and food losses, can also minimize the and even minimizing the chemicals and fertilizers, and saving water can also show outputs that are both productive and sustainable. Even the transboundary waters, so the water situation actually is like this, where large proportion of the world's fresh water resources are in the transboundary waters, including in India. India boasts a network of long rivers, not only serving its own need but also shared with its own neighbors. In South Asian region, the extent of water pollution has worsened considerably in recent years, especially in Meghna, Brahmaputra, Ganga, and Indus River. To solve these problems, the world needs a sophisticated form of the cross-global water governance, promoting effective and equitable water allocation among nations that share water resource. Out of UNESCO's 194 member states and 12 associate members, 153 countries can be classified as water sharing nations, and all transboundary waters account for 60% of fresh waters. So out of only 153 countries, just 24 have managed to reach 100% cooperation agreement on these shared waters, and this is one of the trouble also for navigating the global water landscape. That's why we need to make sure that the 2030 agenda that seeks to achieve the sustainable development goals, we need to have transboundary cooperation on the sustainable management of water. We can also realize benefits across various sectors, including health, food and energy security, protection from natural disasters, education, improved living standards, employment, economic development, and numerous economic services. And we can always play a welfare economist role as well. Now we come to the third topic, and that is aspects of inequality in our country. Inequality, as I told you, is a phenomena that is seriously affecting not only the society but is also bringing its own set of challenges. Inequality is a problem in itself because those people who are consuming more can consume more and can continue consuming more because of the people's spending capacity at the bottom state of the society is limited in that aspect. Now when we talk about it, then a new working paper by Working Inequality. So then we talk about it in this particular paper. So how inequality actually helps problems? Because of the problem, number one, there is a scale of wealth and income gap across the population. It not only affects the world's peace but also gives rise to the conflict among not only countries but across the regions. Inequality reduces not only your spending capacity but also it affects you in securing the basic needs of the society, be it education, water or other resources or health. Because of whenever there is an inequality and the people have been trying to generate basic resources for their only basic need, then other resources like education, health, etc. get affected. And in a polity or a society that is driven by highly unequal societies, where the conflict can also started rising because of the rich, they control more resources, and because of their resources that can also become troublesome. So when we talk about it, what are the aspects? So growth in the average incomes. Between 1960 and 2022, the average income of Indians grew at 2.6% per year in real terms. This period can be broadly divided into two halves. Like in 1960 to 1990, the real growth rate of income was just mere 1.6% per year. Between 1990 and 2022, the average incomes grew by 3.6% per year. The periods between 2005 and 10 and 2010 and 15 even saw the fastest growth, and that was at 4.3% and 4.9% per year respectively. So this is one of the aspect of inequality. Another aspect is very high net worth individuals. The period after 1990 was a cutoff date when we started implementing the economic reforms. And after the economic reforms also created a channel where it was the government that receded from several sectors, and it was the private sector actually that caused one of the major, there was a major situation where private sector played a big role. So increase in the income tax payers. There happened increase in the income tax payers also, and very high net worth individual also started rising. So the period after 1990 saw the emergence of very high net worth individuals with more than $1 billion at market exchange rate. Their numbers increased from 1 in 1991 to 52 in 2011 and 162 in 2022. So very high net worth individual, if they started rising, then the incomes, they should flow to the bottom strata of the society, that gets also affected. Now comes increase in the income tax payers. The share of adult population that filed income tax returns was under 1% until the 1990s, and it rose significantly after the economic reforms of 1991. By 2011, more than 5% of adult population was filing ITRs, while from 2017 to 2020, around 9% of adults filed returns. Then comes another factor, that is extreme levels of inequality. In 2022-23, the percentage of national income that went up to top 1% of the population was 22.6%. The share of the wealth with top 1% was 40% in 2022-23. It is the highest level seen since 1961. So this is also one of the extreme levels of inequality. Now comes another factor, that is extreme wealth at very top. Between 1961 to 2023, the share of the top 1% in national wealth increased threefold from 13% to 39%. So the share of the top 1% in national wealth, it increased threefold. So when it increased threefold, this creates its own set of challenges. When we look about the income inequality globally, in India's income inequality level with that of Brazil, China, France, South Africa and the UK, and when we look at the income share of the top 10%, India is second only to South Africa. When we talk about the income shares of top 1%, India is on the top with 22.6%. That's why India's top 1% income share appears to be among the very, very highest in the world. When we talk about wealth inequality globally, in terms of top wealth shares, we see that both with top 10% and top 1%, India comes out in the middle of the pack, with Brazil and South Africa significantly standing out with their extreme wealth concentration levels. So what is the issue with inequality? As I told you, but these are the factors that are contributing to the inequality calculus. Number one, growth in the average income, how they have fared. So it has not fared equity wise among the poorest and the wealthiest section of the society. There was also a very high net worth individuals and growth in their numbers. Increase in the income tax payers also, extreme wealth at the very top, extreme levels of inequality has been rising. So these are the factors. Whenever you consider writing about the rising inequality in India, you can consider the factors that I talked about. How that can also help in the sense that whenever you are writing these kind of factors, then your answer richness actually increases much. When you use data in the GS3 answers, the chances for scoring well also increase. Because of some sort of factors can be given, so the general answer will look more beautiful and you can create more facts in that. Now comes who is Majid Brigade Baloch militants who are carrying out the Gwadar attack. Gwadar, that is a port in Pakistan that is controlled by China. China actually wants this Gwadar port to circumvent the problem of Indian Ocean and the Malacca Strait. As you know, freedom of navigation is a doctrine that is advocated by not only USA but its allies in Asia, that is like Japan, South Korea, etc., and its partner, strategic partner, even India. So whenever, and one more thing about China is its close, its energy security pipelines actually passes, or sea lanes of communication passes through this Malacca Strait. So whenever suppose there is any conflict by China regarding either Taiwan or some other concerns or South China Sea dispute, then this Malacca Strait can be choked by US and its allies, and in that aspect the energy security of China can get affected, and even the supply of the oil also, that is fossil fuels, can get also can get also constrained. So China wants to circumvent this issue, and it is now developing, or in the development stage there is a Gwadar port that is passing through Karakoram, etc., and going to Pakistan and accessing the Indian Ocean there. Plan is to take oil supplies from Western Asian countries directly from this channel rather than coming from this particular channel. But Gwadar port since the start has been affected by either the groups actually which are having a sort of problems in their geographies. These are Baloch militants who are carrying out attacks on Gwadar port. So whenever we talk about it, Balochistan is in Pakistan's southwest. It is the country's largest and most sparsely populated province. It has oil reserves and abundant natural resources, but the ethnic Baloch are Pakistan's poorest and most underrepresented people. Balochistan comprised multiple chiefdoms owning allegiance to the British. In many ways, China-backed Gwadar port is a symbol of economic injustice. They say that the Baloch people say that China-backed Gwadar port is a symbol of economic injustice that is faced by Baloch. Despite rampant unemployment in the province, engineers and technical specialists were hired from Punjab, Sindh, and even China. But even the employments were not given to these people who were local people. Because of Balochistan is considered as the poorest, and even they comes under the category of even organized crimes or criminals in Pakistan's terminology, in Chinese terminology. That's why the engineers were hired not only from China, but those people who are working on the Gwadar port, they were brought down from either Punjab or Sindh. But Baloch people found very less work or employment level into that. So in 1972, the National Awami Party came to power in Balochistan. The National Awami Party sat in a position, and Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's Pakistan People Party. But Bhutto, changing from humiliation of Pakistan defeat to India, was unwilling to grant any major concessions. From the beginning of the National Awami Party's provincial government, Bhutto attempted to determine or undermine its working. Meanwhile, the more radical Balochistan nationalists continued the insurgency, which created a serious law and order situation in the province. So the Majid Brigade actually has its own background from there. Although the questions will not be asked about Majid Brigade, but you should know that who is the Majid Brigade, and you should also know that what are the Baloch nationalists, etc., or Baloch provincial people who are affecting the Gwadar port. And why they are affecting, I must have told you this. Now we come to the five topic, and that is America's NATO. USA, as you know, has a principal role in NATO. NATO is a particular organization which contributes to the world comprehensive collective security efforts, not only among the Western countries, but also it tries to give security and save people from other resources as well. These resources can be in the form of a Chinese or a Russian aggression or other socialist. Earlier it used to work against the socialist mindset of the people, but now it is also spreading the capitalist model governance across the countries. NATO is basically a proper defense ally, defense treaty among countries, where the countries actually spend close to 2% of their GDP resources on the defense itself. But USA is the principal donor into this, and because of the USA's contribution, many of the Western countries have not contributed the way they should have contributed, more than 2% of their, or close to 2% of their GDP on the national defense budget. Why this question is coming? Because Trump in its first presidency also raised this topic, that it is the countries where the NATO or those Western countries, those are members of the NATO, they have to bear the expenses of 2% of their GDP. But after Trump's ouster in the presidency, Biden came, and this was put to again rest. But because in the heat of the US presidential elections, which are supposed to happen in November, again Trump actually just started, saying like those countries have to bear 2% of their resources for the GDP, and USA will not do any kind of security guarantee if they don't provide 2% of the resources for the defense. Why they are saying? Because of Trump says that America first is my policy. Although I will not abandon NATO, but I will want these countries to give a participation of their 2% of GDP on the defense sector. In case they don't give it, either I will throw them out or NATO actually will not provide them the security cover. In case NATO does not provide them the security cover, then still we are seeing a Russian-Ukrainian conflict. These kind of conflicts can start rising because Russia's geographical position is very vast, and its network expenses also can increase much to threaten the territorial integrity of other countries in Western nations. Even China and Russia axis, which is emerging and now taking part across all those concerns which are across the globe and poking their nose across the geopolitical issues of the globe, USA can then actually have a risk of reducing its own importance. So it has its own set of negative challenges as well. But NATO's defense budget, as it has been mentioned in the treaty itself, close to 2% of the GDP should be expend on the spend on the defense sector instruments. That's why the NATO's integrity can remain. सो इस तरह है यूरोपियंस को भी चेतावनी दी गई है कि उनकी हिफाजत की पूरी जिम्मेदारी के लिए उन्हें तैयार रहना चाहिए। फिनलैंड एंड स्वीडन के शामिल होने से नेटो काफ़ी मजबूत हुआ है क्योंकि दोनों ही देशों के मजबूत रक्षा प्रणालियां हैं, लेकिन आज भी उसके कई जो सदस्य देश है अपने जीडीपी का 2% खर्च करने के लक्ष्य को पूरा नहीं कर रहे हैं या उसको संघर्ष कर रहे हैं। इसके लिए जो है उनको गोला बारूद, परिवहन, ईंधन भरने वाहन, कमांड, सिक्योरिटी, उसके लिए दे कैन स्टार्ट फीलिंग सम सॉर्ट ऑफ इश्यूज इफ यूनाइटेड स्टेट either abandons NATO or try to reduce NATO's role into those territories or those countries where 2% of their national resources have not been spent on the GDP, on the defense expenditure. Thank you for listening for this lecture. We would be coming with more. You can give us feedback, what you also desire. You can like and click our share button also. For more such videos, you can like the button and subscribe the channel. Thank you.